But I want to share with you guys my method, as I was saying, my method for building the forehand, especially for little kids. And it's a little bit revolutionary. It's definitely different, okay? So what I try to build is fluidity. Fluidness, elasticity, looseness. These are the words. This is what I'm after. And you look for that in the joint and in the musculature, in the joints and the musculature of the arm. You look for it in the body. You look for a fluid arm, fluid swing. And what typifies a fluid swing is generally the drift at the end. The follow through, the finish is the indicator that tells you, that helps you understand that whether the swing was rigid, stiff, or loose and fluid. So that's where, for me, the follow through helps a lot. When the follow through is high, typically the higher it is, the stiffer the arm is. The actual tension in the arm is greater. And when you see the racket drift at the end and you see the racket invert below the hand, that's a very good indicator that there's less tension in the arm. So I hope that makes sense. And that, in a nutshell, is so important for young kids to learn. And I don't think that's focused on enough in junior development, in junior technical development. Most systems don't focus too much on the fluidity, the elasticity. And the best indicator of that is the finish, the way the racket moves on the finish, the way the racket drifts or flows. Obviously, the way it flows through the forward part of the swing, but also through the ending of the swing, right? Thank you for the waves, guys. So the fluidness of the stroke is everything, and I don't know why that can't be the priority U10 with young kids, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You want to get a fluidness in the stroke. You also want to get a nice rhythm in the stroke. We're talking forehand tonight, so the rhythm can mean different things to different coaches. The rhythm is the way the backswing flows, the timing of it, but it's also the way the forward swing flows and where the follow-through, the timing of the follow-through, where the follow-through goes, but the timing of the follow-through as well. For Tony Nadal, for instance, he's obsessed with the rhythm post-impact. So not just the rhythm of the backswing. He doesn't really talk about the backswing rhythm that much, and most Spanish coaches don't. It's the forward swing after the impact, post-impact, where the arm and the racket accompany the ball. There's a good extension, a good flow, and then a nice finish. That is critical in terms of rhythm for Uncle Tony, for example. But rhythm is important, whether it's the backswing or forward swing, the flow of the stroke, the elasticity, the fluidness, the relaxation in the actual arm itself, and also maybe to a lesser extent in the body, the way the legs work, the way the hips work. There needs to be a nice flow to the shot. And most of the forehands that I see are not like that. They are stiff. They are rigid, as we talked about before. They are tight, literally tight. You can sometimes see the tension coursing through the forearm and through the upper arm and into the shoulder. You can see it. You can see the grip is too tense. You can see these things in young kids, and I don't think coaches prioritize this enough. And this is a huge part of my method for building the forehand, getting the proper looseness and fluidity. And if you do that, the beauty of that is if you do that at a young age, if you can get a kid like that, if you can build in those parameters, you get some magical things. You get topspin, for one. You get more effortless racket speed. You get that whip that I'm always talking about. You know, I have an online forehand course called Whip, called #Whip. How do you get this whip that is so difficult to achieve? The elusive whip, it starts with fluidness. It starts with relaxation in the arm. And you don't get relaxation through mental training typically, although sometimes anxiety and stress can make a player more tense. But I heard a ridiculous podcast, and I'm not going to mention the name of the podcast. I heard a ridiculous coach on this podcast, ridiculous podcast, and the coach talked about how he could get the joints and the arm relaxed on strokes just through basically talk therapy. And it's just comical. I mean, it was a farce, and it was laughable because many kids are tight. They're muscularly tight. They're tight within the musculature. They're tight within the joint, and you have to physically help them release that. It's not typically something you can just reprogram mentally and then everything just becomes fluid. That's crazy talk. That is bananas land. Okay, so you've got to get this looseness. My method is about getting this looseness, this fluidity, and setting up the parameters to do that. And I have a whole system of drills that I do. I have physical manipulations that I help the player with. These are all elements that are in that online course, by the way. #whip. Which, by the way, you can get at clta.teachable.com. I've got to plug my online school. clta.teachable.com. Come on. That's where you can learn all about that type of forehand that I like to build. But essentially, in a nutshell, we're talking fluidity. We're talking elasticity. How do we get it? How do we get it in little kids? And if most little kids came to me like that, man, it'd be so much easier to train them. We would save a lot of development time. Because right now, most of the kids that I see are rigid, stiff, tight, locked, blocked, grounded. Their swing doesn't flow. And they're hitting the ball typically, how? Very, very flat. And so I object to that. I object to teaching young kids that way. Guys, should we go do one quick mailbox round or two? We'll do one quick mailbox round because we had a little trouble with the technology tonight. Okay, quick mailbox round. I had one mom, super mom of one of my great students from Vegas, baby, from Las Vegas, and she messaged me and she asked me, should my son, who's I think 8 or 9 now, should he play green or yellow? And so I just wanted to touch upon that little mailbox discussion, green or yellow. First of all, I think I'm a big yellow ball coach. You guys know that. And I don't think you need colored balls at all. You can do it all with a yellow ball, even a slightly deflated yellow ball if you want it, which is more like a green ball. A good coach doesn't need any colored balls. Sometimes, I'm not saying I never coach with colored balls. I have some students who prefer that, some parents who prefer that, and we do it. But I really prefer to speed things along with the yellow ball, but to do it prudently and thoughtfully. That's for one, and that's in training and competition. But let's say you have an 8 or 9 year old and they have a choice: should they play green ball or yellow? I just think that there's a bit of a myth that green ball is better because the rallies are longer. And in fact, there was a study done by Tennis Australia. We don't have many studies on these things. It was a fairly comprehensive study by Tennis Australia. And they examined whether the rallies were significantly longer in green ball tournaments versus yellow, and they didn't find a significant statistical difference. So there's one piece of evidence. If you need a study, you can look it up online. It's a Tennis Australia. It's not very old. And I thought that was a fascinating result that they found. We don't have a lot of evidence or studies in tennis, so to get one on green versus yellow, I think is a good start. It's obviously it's not a vast collection of studies, but it's one study. But the green, I don't have too much of an issue with green ball, especially if it plays pretty close to a yellow ball. It plays close to an old yellow ball. So what I recommended was that the player could do both. I also recommend that players, especially the young kids, they practice with yellow and they can compete with green. That's also another very good option. So if you have a little superstar, they could practice with yellow, and that's a good way to transition them towards the yellow ball. And they could still compete in green. That's a legitimate option, good option. You could just play yellow, and I think the best talented kids usually do play yellow. So if you're looking for yellow ball, you can look into the Little Mo tournament series. Those are really good. You can find a lot of yellow ball, young kids, 8, 9, 10, playing Little Mo. And I just think that it's still the gold standard at 8 or 9 is yellow ball, and the most talented kids, in my experience, can almost always play yellow ball, even younger, 7, 8, 9. That's going to be the gold standard for a talented kid. So if you're looking to speed your kid along and get them the best possible competition at a young age, you're probably going to have to find it in yellow ball, at least in the U.S. So that's my take on it. Green versus yellow. Don't have too much of an issue with green because it's played on the full-size court. I really don't like orange ball for many reasons, but one, because it's played on the short court, which discourages acceleration and hitting the ball with max power. A lot of kids can overshoot the orange court, so they decelerate their swing, they decelerate their arm. That's a big one. And many times the ball just doesn't bounce that much. It's not an athletic ball. It doesn't move the kids enough. The best athletes, or if you want your kid to be more athletic, you want to challenge them with a faster ball, not a slower ball. So those are two big hits against orange ball. The size of the court and the speed of the ball is very slow. It's detraining the eyes and feet, or it's undertraining the eyes and feet. And also with the orange with the orange ball, it's also, what is my other knock against orange ball training? The size of the court. All right, I think I have a few others, and off the top of my head, those are the big ones. The size of the court and the speed of the ball. So try to move your it's the size of the racket. That's the other one. The size of the racket. In most, I believe in all the USDA sections now, the size of the racket is maybe 23 inch, or I think it's mandated to be 23, or maybe some. It's really small racket. So you have to use this light, small racket, and you got the slow ball and the small court. There's just a lot to overcome in orange, and I really am dead set against kids staying a long time in orange ball. So if you're a parent out there or a coach, don't fall for that BS that you have to spend a lot of time in orange, 1 or 2 years. What a disaster. I think so many kids lose time, and they lose sometimes their game. They lose their future in orange ball. I don't want to sound too dramatic, but I mean, a couple of years is a lot of time to lose in terms of competing against other kids along the race of junior development. And try not to fall for that myth that junior development is a marathon, just a marathon. I did a whole show on this where I talked about it, or at least part of a show earlier. You can probably find it in the archives. But junior tennis is a marathon, but you want to sprint that marathon. That was sort of my conclusion or my advice. You want to get to the end of the marathon as fast as you can. And orange ball is a huge time killer, big time waster in my opinion. And I have less of an issue with green because it's played with the normal racket on the full court and the ball moves a little better. But then again, if you're playing green, why not just step up to the normal yellow ball? Come on, people. If your kid's a decent athlete, he or she can totally do it. And that way you don't waste any green time either. And I don't buy the argument that green is going to help your kid get fewer injuries, get less injured. I'm not really buying that. And I don't think there's a significant difference in rally length. And that's how I see green versus yellow. And I also couldn't help myself. I had to get in a jab or an uppercut to the orange ball system, which I really don't like very much. And I especially don't like the mandate that kids have to play orange ball and they have to use a small racket for tournament play. I don't like that USTA mandate. So, guys, I'll leave you with that. It was an amazing show with great energy. We had some technical problems, I think, from Facebook. Darn you, Facebook. How do you do this to me? I may have to start doing the live shows on YouTube or another platform. I always had my YouTube account. I could go there. I never had a problem with YouTube before. But guys, thank you so much. It was a great show. I hope you enjoyed talking about the forehand and my method and the way I think everyone's doing it wrong, and also about Team and Rafa. And it was really interesting show. We talked about reversing and reverse forehands. I think I should do another show on this topic. We might have to do a part 2 of the forehand discussion because I lost a lot of your comments. I'm so sorry, guys. In the transition from video to video, I lost some of the comments. I'll try to check those after the show's over. And want to wish you guys awesome holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, happy everything. Enjoy this time. Be thankful for everything that you have in your life. This is a time of gratitude and thanks, and I hope that you're able to spend the holidays with people that you love, with family and friends. God bless. Have a great night. Have a wonderful holiday, and I will see you guys in 2020.